So if I suddenly mute, oh, and Val jumps in, then that is why. So I am excited to be here with you guys. So today I'm going to be talking about discovering your one word, and it's sort of a hot topic, if you will, at least in the spaces that I run in. I feel like even more so this year than previous years. Um, and yet there's still a lot of people who don't know about it, which is why I thought it'd be a really great topic to kind of bring to this CEO coffee tea and lead community. And uh, there's also people who still struggle, right? Like, which is completely normal, struggling with picking the word, really sticking to the word. And so that's, several different reasons of why I wanted to kind of jump in. So first, I wanted to kind of share my story with you guys on kind of the evolution of understanding what the one word is, right? So the concept of choosing your word of the year, which I know it's been talked about a little bit this week, actually. So thank you for helping that plant that seed. So the concept comes from a book called My One Word by Mike Ashcroft, and I forget the second author's name. And so it's when you listen to the book, which I redid this week actually to help prepare for this, it's very spiritual. And so there are certain points where I may reference something that is spiritual. I am Catholic, I'm Christian. If that does not resonate with you, just as John Maxwell would say, just cover your ears and take no offense to that. And yet still you don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to like lean into that side of the book the way that he does, right? He talks a lot about kind of trusting in God to help guide you through that word and really leaning on him, right? And yet that doesn't have to be the aspect that you focus on. For me, the first time I heard about my one word concept, right, word of the year, was at the end of 2019 from David Patterson, actually, who's our coach, and he was explaining to us, choosing a word of the year to kind of be your mantra, to kind of help carry you through things. And then 2020, New Year's Day, unfortunately, our grandmother had passed away. And then, she was our heart, as I say. She helped raise us. Our mom was a single mom for a good portion of our childhood. And so that was really hard, right? And then a couple weeks later, I got really sick. And then I was in the hospital. Not normal, right? And so the whole beginning, this is all before COVID, beginning of that year was really, really rough. And I hadn't picked a word yet. It was in my mind to pick one. And so in February, after I got discharged from the hospital, grace, that ended up being my word, because I had to give myself grace for all the things that had happened, right? Didn't fully get the chance to kind of grieve my grandmother. I jumped into helping mode for my mom, and then I got sick, and it was this big snowball effect. And I'm a workhorse for those who know me. So not being able to work at my full capacity because of the grief and then because of being sick, like that really took me several months actually to kind of bounce back from that hospital stay. And so it was just constant, just give yourself grace, right? And then COVID. So that carried me through the year, that reminder that it's okay to not be okay. And even the phrase, so when you talk about your one word, sometimes it might just be a word, sometimes it might be a phrase. So grace was my word, give yourself grace, but also that this is happening for me, not to me. Like there was a reason, again, the faith side of me, right, that God had these things happen. There's a reason that I got sick even, and it forced me to slow down and take a beat. And even before COVID kind of hit, right? And kind of understanding that. So moving into 2021, my word became growth because I wasn't going to kind of let the challenges of 2020 stop me from kind of wanting to move forward. And so throughout the year, growth was my focus. What different types of things can I do to kind of grow, evolve. And then in 2022, my word became transformation. And that was very fitting, right? And it was this evolution of my life, right? So I was transforming through different businesses. That is when I started one of my businesses, Burke Business Solutions, where I do like coaching and things of that nature. Kind of different things in my life. We're just evolving. I went through a lot of health issues, but it was the transformation of finally finding out the cause of some of those issues that I hadn't been able to figure out for years, right? So my body was dealing with transformation, like a random crazy thing. I used to be allergic to avocados in college, and towards the end of the year, because of supplements and different things, I was seeing a naturopath. By the end of the year, I was no longer allergic. Like I would still test it because I still love like avocado and guacamole. And so that was one of the biggest transformations for me. It was like my reward for everything I had gone through. Like, oh my God, like I can eat avocados now. And so yeah, I eat all the guacamole just in case one day I'm allergic again. um, and then last year in 2023, my word was breakthrough. I had been kind of on this upward trajectory, right? Almost a slow pace. And anytime you're growing, right, it's always a forward and a backwards. And I accept that, right? It's never just a straight upwards. There's gonna be setbacks, there's gonna be lull days. And yet I knew that I really wanted to push myself. I knew that there was a lot within me that I wasn't tapping into yet. And so then breakthrough, it was kind of a commitment to myself. And the amount of breakthrough that I had last year in so many different ways that wasn't even expected, like truly like leaning into Burke Business, which I had, did more of a soft launch in 2022. I did a splash year launch last year. I built out a website. I then started the Real Estate Operations Institute with Carissa, who was on the call like later in the year. Just really leaning into things for the Valerie King team. Like I was all over the place, right? I was team no sleep for the second half of the year. And I was okay with that because the clarity that I had on the things that I was trying to do and grow was so vivid in my mind that it carried me through. That breakthrough truly carried me through the all of the different kind of places that I had my hands in. And so that is part of what I want you to kind of take away from this, that level of clarity when you truly have the word that is meant to kind of fill your soul and you truly lean into that, you'll feel it, right? If there is doubt in your heart, then it might not be the word for you. But when you find the right word or the right phrase, you'll just know. And there might be resistance. It might be scary. I remember having an agent at the beginning of last year posting that she was like, "Can somebody re-explain the word to me?" Because she's like, I have a word, but I don't like it. I don't like it. And it was commitment. And she was so scared for some reason, from that word, right? And she was transparent to say, like, it's like she knew why. Like there were things that she was afraid to commit to. They were challenges in a positive way that people were challenging her to kind of grow out of her shell more and commit to different teaching and speaking engagements and things of that nature. And when she finally, I re-explained it to her. I think I had sent her an article, a video to watch or something. A few people reached out to her and she was like, "Thank you for that." And she's like, "It re-solidified that this is supposed to be my word and I just have to accept it, right?" And I remember her talking about it a couple weeks ago, actually. She was like, it was her word for the year and it scared her for most of the year, but she stuck to it and she stayed committed. And it opened up a lot of new doors for her as well. So to give you my perspective, right, my evolution of the different words this year, um, my word was going to be travel. Sometimes it comes to me and sometimes not, not as easily. So back in November, I was like, travel. That's my word for 2024. Like it's almost like a light bulb goes off for me, right? And then we were talking about it a couple weeks later in a team meeting, and I was like, it's travel. I'm like, I feel like maybe there's a better word for travel, right? Something more all-encompassing, but that's the word. And Val says, what about exploration? And I was like, ooh, I love that. And I was like, yes, exploration. That is a better word than travel, right? And when I was putting this in somebody's post because I keep seeing these posts like, what's your word of the year? I explain, right? So exploration. And I'm like, exploration involves the traveling for sure, which is a big part of my year this year. And yet it's also kind of a rediscovery of yourself to me, right? You're exploring new paths, new things, right? So it for my trajectory, it is the perfect next level from a breakthrough because you have broken through the glass ceiling in a sense, and now is your opportunity to explore, right, what's out there. And then I had some rough things happening at the beginning of this year for me, and yet it has solidified that word for me to mean even more as far as the rediscovery of oneself, and it's that reaffirmation that that's the word that I am meant to have this year, and just lean into it and just have that faith in myself, have that faith in God, right? To just let that word carry me through and not be resistant to it. And so with all of that said, I did have a slide with some of the notes that I did want to share from my one word. Once I can find it. And here we go. So first, I'm going to go into this, but does anybody have any questions so far about that, or anything that you want to share about your own kind of evolution of your word over the last few years?
Good morning, everyone. This is
Morning,
Lily.
Lily.
Good morning. So this is actually going to be my first year with a word. I have never tried it, so I'm
Mhm.
definitely looking forward to getting a word of my own that I can work throughout the rest of the year.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully this will help you with that journey, Lily. Um,
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome. Val, were you also about to say something?
I was just going to say that I have been one that has been resistant to the word, in the past. Um, I'm like, I got so many different things going on. I don't have a word. But when I realized it was more about having a lack of clarity, right? And I really struggled with clarity on because I was doing so many different things on what I wanted to focus on and what I should be focusing on. Um, and This year is the first year that I really have been excited about my one word, which is acceleration. And there's been a lot of clarity that came prior to that word, even. And, just embracing that and whatever that means and looks like, right? And making that a mantra for the year for me. So, for those that may either have been resistant or have never had it, right? This truly is meant to help with clarity around your forward movements.
Yes, that is awesome. And I can attest your excitement is really, I don't know, what cute, sweet to see when you really lean into that word and you have been excited about that word acceleration. So there's certainly some clarity there for sure.
I
Okay.
could add something.
Yeah.
So I've used this as well, and I like it because I even carry some of them with me. But I use it as, when literally as like a quick cheat sheet whenever things are coming up that are trying to make distract me or take me off of my trajectory of what I'm working on, knowing that those things are going to happen. I'll ask myself, like for me last year was realignment. I'm sorry, the prior year was realignment and then recalibration. Um, and I would just ask, is this getting me back to where I'm trying to get to? And this year for me, I'm using one of your old words. This year for me, I feel like it's really about transformation, like really just now kind of running with things that I feel like I've gotten re in line. And now how is that going to transform everything, my personal life, my business life, my health, making sure like I stay on top of that because I feel like the pandemic did a number on, I don't know about everybody else, but it did a number on me. You know, because I had to stay locked up longer than most people did, you know, because of my son's medical condition. So I didn't, you know, we couldn't go out as much for like two and a half, like we were home for 2.5 years pretty much. So, you know, it was a lot, but now just kind of like, all right, I got to make these changes. But it's a good word to just be like, is this in line with what I want to do? And it's just easy to have that one word.
Yes, I love that, Leticia. Thank you for sharing that. Um, okay, so this is a quote, Mike Ashcroft and Rachel Olson. So sorry, Rachel, that is the co-author. Um, So my one word, I'm an Audible person, you know, or wherever you buy your books, is a really good book to read. And so just a quote. So the aim is for you to use your one word to get into a focused posture and remain there while you depend on Christ. Change is possible, focus is required. They say that a lot throughout the book. Change is possible, focus is required. Change is possible, focus is required. And dependence on God is absolutely foundational. So you want to change your mindset around it. When you are choosing your word, right? You don't want to focus on the willpower of trying to carry you through. You want to focus on the commitment around it, right? And that is why I love this picture of kind of hand to heart. Let it sit on your heart, let it resonate with you, right? It is a commitment and it's a promise that you're making to yourself. I very much like Leticia just said, um, of kind of asking yourself those questions like, is this word supposed to carry me through this, or is it supposed to do this for me? I like to think of this kind of explanation when you're thinking about working out. Like if you, most of you maybe have heard of the 75 hard, right? Now that is something that takes willpower. It's essentially it's a set of commitments that you do for 75 days straight. And if you miss a day, then you have to start again from day one, right? Until you can carry through for 75 days. That is a level of commitment, yes. And yet to me that's more willpower, because you're doing it for 75 days. It's like working out twice a day and reading pages, drinking water, different things. Versus a commitment would just be making an entire health lifestyle change, right? Just eating the right food so that you don't have to go 75 days hard and then you stop, right? Um, Choosing to change your diet, like for lifetime goals, right? So thinking of it as this isn't just a temporary thing that you're doing. This is truly like an evolution of your efforts into leaning into this word, into letting it carry you through whatever challenges you might face, through the uncomfort areas that you might be facing, right? Like Val said, you might feel that hesitation to it, and yet still trusting that it is the right word that you're meant to have. So there's tons of different reflection questions that he kind of goes throughout the book. And so these are some of them that I really liked and I wanted to share with you guys. So these reflection questions are meant to help you think about your word, when you've chosen a word, maybe to help you assess, is this the right word for me, right? So Lily, for sure, hopefully you can take a picture maybe, and some of these questions can help you, or anyone else who hasn't picked their word yet. What are some things that you would like to change about yourself? What distracts you from focusing on the change you desire? Do you feel like you've hit a plateau? And if you do, then why? What kind of person do you want to become this year? And then often our desire is fueled by regret. That is unfortunately true, but it is true, right? And does regret propel you forward? Oops. Or does it hold you back? And so think about these questions to kind of help you get to your word, like I was saying. So for me, sometimes, like I said, sometimes it just comes to me based on wherever I am in my life, different things might happen and a word will come to me. With that said, he also talks about not picking a word because you really just want it to be that word, and ignoring the rest of the process. He uses the example of the word wealth. You're like, yeah, my word's gonna be wealth for the year because I'm trying to get rich. I'm trying to get some money, right? And they're like, okay, so maybe if that's what's in your mind and in your heart, then maybe that's your word, but not necessarily for the reasons that you think, right? And he goes into some examples like it might be wealth because you'll gain wealth, but your word might be wealth because God, again, wants you to get a better understanding of the concept around wealth, like how are you saving your money? Are you investing or different things of that nature? Maybe it's for you to be teaching somebody else about wealth. He even says, goes as far as to say maybe the goal is not for you to gain wealth, but for you to share it, for you to actually give it away, or even to lose it and learn a lesson through that, right? So don't just assume or tell yourself that this is my word and this is the reason. Be open to the process and whatever may happen throughout the year, and notice how it is kind of reinforcing the word that you have picked for yourself. It will show up if it's the right word and you truly lean into it. It will continue to show up in your life. And some of these questions can kind of help you with that. I especially love kind of focusing it around, who am I today and who do I want to become? How can this word kind of help propel me in that direction or help guide me rather, right? To, what kind of evolution do I need to go through again from the heart, to kind of carry me through? And then this was just another statement he said that really hit home for me. It is a true heart level renovation. And I keep saying that, right? Doing this. So, really thinking about when you have that word and when you let it carry you through, it will be. It's not necessarily meant to be easy, right? It's going to challenge you. It's going to push you. It is going to be a true heart level renovation. And then let me stop there for a second. Does anybody else have any questions? I see Val, you put in the chat that Jonna knows about 75 Hard. I bet she does. That girl has some willpower and determination. Keep going. So here's the process. Um, So it's actually very simple, right? The process of picking the word and then the process of kind of letting it settle in and truly deciding if it is your right word for the year. That's more where the reflection can also come in and kind of help you um decide, right? Like let it sit with you for a few weeks. You don't have to decide today and stick with it. So first is identify. You want to identify um all the different words that just kind of keep coming into your mind. Make a list and just let it be a brain dump, if you will, to just get them all on paper, right? There is no right or wrong word. If it's something that kind of keeps floating through your head, or if you hear a word, you see a word, and it just catches you, right? Then write it down. There's a reason that word in that moment maybe caught your attention, more than something else. So again, more of like a brain dump, and then it's going to be reduced. So you might end up with right a ton of words like this, kind of like if you're just doing a vision board or something. Now from there, you want to go back through all of your words and eliminate anything that no longer resonates with you, right? So think on it, maybe go back to those reflection questions and kind of ask yourself again, who do I want to be this year? What's holding me back from becoming the person that I want to become? What do I truly desire for my life, for my future, for my family, things of that nature. And again, eliminate anything that does not still resonate with you for your word. And then it's going to be to take a look. Are there any words that might be similar? So like for me, I said travel, but I knew I'm like, yes, travel, but I think that there's another word, right, that might be more broad, but also more relevant, more applicable. And then once I heard exploration, I was like, yes, that one. That is the word, right? Um, so are there words that are maybe synonyms to the words that you've kind of reduced and refined your list to that might carry more meaning, carry more weight for you? Are there words that maybe look up some if you're just like, I was thinking growth, and I look it up and I'm like, this isn't quite the word. And so you eliminate that, right? So doing kind of some different activities to really hone in on your list. And then once you kind of get down to a list, try to get it down to about 10 words remaining. Or less, and then you're just gonna pick, right? So from there, you're gonna pick your word from the remaining list. And remember, change is possible. You can change it, but the focus is required. So if you think that you're going to change it, you're going to first need to really focus on the word and go through the reflection questions again and really think, is this the word that I'm meant to have? Do you want to change it just because you're resistant to it and you're afraid of the word, right? Or do you want to change it because you feel like you're not fully resonating with it? So those are the three steps: identify, like brain dump, right? Reduce your list, and then pick your word. Any questions with that? Yeah, so I can't see anybody.
No, I think that's a thorough process. And yesterday we were talking about New Year's resolutions, and while I don't agree with the short-term gain of New Year's resolutions, doing something like this is a I think a softer approach to being able to have something that you can commit to for the year that won't necessarily take a lot of energy to implement, right? I mean, me saying acceleration is my word, there's activities that are going to go with that, but it's not like I'm uh that it's not this huge kind of thing that I'm having to now change all of my activities to, right? If it's the word, your actions will become in alignment with that word, right? So I think for some, rather than a resolution that takes all these different changes in your day and your activities, this word can kind of help align your activities with where you want to see yourself, and just a softer approach, I think, for goal setting. Though I still do agree with the SMART goals.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's funny that you said that one of the things, that he gets into when you do choose your word, there's going to be a couple different things. One of it is going to be remembering it. and and then he says at one point, he's telling a story. He tells a few different stories, right? So one of the stories is um I forget, it's a couple, and like the guy's word of the year was remember, and he couldn't remember what his word of the year was. And she's like, listen, okay. So you have to take some ownership in that, right? Stop making excuses for the inactivity, for why you can't get started with your word yet. Really lean into it, right? So like Val's talking about activity, don't fall victim to inactivity. When you pick the word, embrace it, and again, I know that that fear might be there, but once you let that settle, then you kind of move past it. Then you have to just embrace it, but then you have to live it every day as well, so that you don't forget it, so that you keep it at the forefront of your mind. um and there's another couple of reflection questions to kind of help you with that, right? So when you pick the word, or as you're trying to pick the word, think about what areas of your life are you currently displaying your anticipated word, and what areas are you not. So if you're already displaying it in certain ways, then it might just be taking it to the next level, letting it evolve into the way it's meant to evolve. And if you're not living it in certain ways, like for Leticia, transformation, then kind of be open to that. Like, so if I'm not transforming in this part of my life, like in my household, maybe? Like, how do I want to maybe transform, right, in my household? How can I let this word kind of help me in this area of my life? And then, yeah, like I said, one of the hardest parts in living your word of the year is remembering it. So some suggestions of living it daily. Uh, you want to keep your word in front of you. That is very important. And I think you said that too, Leticia. So some examples, you can make it your social status. Like, let other people know, that's super important, what the word is, so that they can help be your accountability partners in that. Maybe even ask a friend or a sibling or a coworker to kind of check in on you every so often. Like, how's that word coming for you? How are you living it? How are you finding it show up in your life, right? You can add it as a phone screensaver, right? You can get a journal, maybe, like you can get custom ones that has the word on the front of it for you that you could use for the year. I don't know about y'all, but I have notebooks for all sorts of things. I got notebooks everywhere. So another notebook for me is something that I tend to get notebooks every year. And so I love that idea, because if I just get a notebook with my word on the of the year for it, then I'm constantly going to be looking at it, right? You can put it in your email signature. Put it, like the picture shows, you can put it on mirrors, right? Just so that you visibly see it. You could post it in your car somewhere. Just different ways to kind of keep it at the front of your mind so that you're not forgetting it. And that you are, again, living it daily. And then I just wanted to share, so these are the top 10 most often picked word of the years, WOTY, according to the My Word movement. So you can go to myoneWord.org, that's their website, and you can actually submit your word of the year. There's some tools to help you pick your word of the year. So Lily, maybe check that out, or anybody else who hasn't picked their word of the year or is maybe struggling with um, kind of letting it be your word of the year, right? That fear. So these were the top 10: love, trust, patience, discipline, focus, faith, surrender. I do love that. Peace, listen, and joy. So just let those resonate on you guys for a bit. And if you want to take a picture of this. And that was it. It's kind of the end. So just wanted to share that, give you guys some suggestions. The top 10 words of the year I thought were good. And if there are any other questions that I can help, like I said, I've had my evolution and I see how it showed up in my life and really helped me, right? Keep it at the forefront. And I'd love to help you guys do the same.
Thanks, Josie.
You're welcome. I saw you said you're surprised consistency isn't on there. Yeah, there's a few words that I thought would have been like growth. I kind of thought would be one of them, right? But yeah, those are for thousands of people who have submitted their words. Those are the ones that tend to be the most consistent. So yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I hope this was helpful for you guys, and you can go back, like I said, myoneWord.org to check out their resources. I managed to get through without coughing too much. So, yeah, happy to help, and I hope that whenever you do choose your word, or if you've already chosen it, I hope that it helps carry you through 2024 and gives you a lot of clarity and a lot of purposeful action throughout the rest of the year. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Josie.
you.
You're welcome.